Drive depuis maintenant plus de 20 ans, la série des Test Drive s'apprête à revenir sur le devant de la scène avec un spin-off entièrement consacré à la légendaire firme italienne Ferrari. Développé par les Britanniques de Slightly Mad Studio, ce Test Drive a récemment fait l'objet d'un événement auquel nous avons été conviés. L'occasion pour nous de poser toutes nos questions au directeur artistique du jeu, Andy Tudor, qui nous explique dans quelle mesure l'expérience de son studio dans le domaine du jeu de course les a aidés dans le développement de ce nouveau Test Drive.
So at Slightly Mad Studios, we have our own technology. It's called the Madness Engine, and it's built in such a way that, like, going forward with every new project, we have such a strong base, knowing that it could be put on different platforms, whether it's 360 or PS3 or PC. You know, we have such a strong base that we don't need to reinvent the wheel every single time that we come to a new game. And it's also, without getting too techy, it's also built in a way which is very modular. So when we come to Ferrari or something like that, we can kind of bolt on the bits that we need to fit this particular title. Having done many racing games in the past, therefore, one, the team are naturally passionate about racing games anyway, and, you know, those guys who worked on older games like GTR, GT Legend, things like that, those guys are still on the team today. The guys who, like, were absolute heroes and, like, big, you know, members of the team on the Need for Speed games, those guys are still here on this particular game as well. So there's lots of knowledge there already, you know, from the people that work at our studio. There's also great tech there from the Madness Engine and stuff like that. So, you know, going forward with every game that we create, there's just a huge knowledge base and a huge amount of work that just gets done very, very quickly because we have such dedicated people and such great tech. So the work we've done on previous projects totally helps, you know. It speeds up the development time of any new project coming out. So.
D'une manière générale, les test drives vont toujours plus ou moins privilégier l'aspect simulation par rapport au côté arcade que l'on peut retrouver dans beaucoup de jeux de course. Un choix qui a su démarquer la série de ses principaux concurrents. Mais qu'en est-il de cet épisode ?
The Test Drive series has been around for years and years and years, you know, and they've always been associated with supercars and exotic locations, things like that. When it comes to kind of like the simulation side, I mean, our studio, Slightly Mad, is kind of known for simulation games and stuff. And, you know, every single game that we create, we always make sure, we're always aware that when it's on the shelf, anybody can buy it, right? So whether it's your 9-year-old nephew opening it on his birthday or for Christmas or something like that, or or the kind of guy who's pre-ordering it, or is a die-hard Test Drive fan, or a die-hard Ferrari fan, or a die-hard simulation fan, you know, we were aware that kind of all those people could just pick it up off the shelf and go and buy it. So therefore, I know you can't please everyone all the time, so therefore we make sure in every game that we do, we put in all the different options available so you can dial the experience to what you want in particular. So we just make sure that everyone can tailor the experience to how they want. There's this perception that simulation games mean hard games, when it's not. It just means that you're simulating reality, basically. So we've kind of got to get away from that kind of preconception that sim means hard. Sim just means accurate, authentic, real, you know, so Ferrari is such a mainstream brand anyway, we've got to make sure that, you know, the mainstream audience can also play it.
Ce test drive, que l'on peut considérer comme un spin-off, est entièrement consacré à la marque Ferrari. Une décision inspirée, mais également risquée, dans la mesure où tous les joueurs ne sont pas forcément fans de la marque italienne. Un choix particulier donc, que nous explique Andy.
If you're going to do a single license game, you've got to go for the big one, right? You've got to go for the one which has got the most heritage. It's the one that trips off the tongue if you ever say, what's your dream car? It's got to be the brand that is treated in the most premium, elite, you know, aspirational manner. It's the one that both kids can look at, see it in the street and go, oh my God, Dad, what's that car? And it's also the one that my father can appreciate the heritage of Ferrari from when he grew up and things like that. So if you're going to do a single license game, you've got to go big, and Ferrari is the biggest, you know. And in the game, we're totally aware of that, and we appreciate and look at the Ferrari heritage as a story, you know, 60 years of Ferrari in the game there, and we want to pay it due respect and treat it in the manner that it deserves.
Test Drive Ferrari Racing Legends propose, comme pratiquement tous les jeux de course de nos jours, des features multijoueurs online. Mais là aussi, le jeu tente une approche originale, en ne proposant pas d'upgrade de voiture, ni de système similaire à l'autologue d'EA, pourtant très apprécié. À la place, de la course pure mettant à l'épreuve les skills des joueurs.
So there's full multiplayer for the game with race and time attack modes. It's a different ethos really for Ferrari Racing Legends. Because Ferrari cars don't really get upgraded or tuned, you know, in real life. They are beautiful and perfect as they are and stuff. You know, there's no upgrading and tuning in the game. And what that means for multiplayer is that everyone is on a level playing field. If you have knowledge that every car has the same engine, has the same downforce, the same suspension, all that kind of stuff, then it really puts the focus on driver skill. There are too many games out there where you simply spend the most cash on the car, get the biggest engine, the biggest turbo, whatever it is, and you go into an online game and the guy who spent the most money drives off and wins, you know, or the guy who crashes on the first corner loses, that kind of thing. When it's down to driver skill, it really changes the playing field for online play because everyone on the grid knows that everyone is equal, and it's just down to literally how many hours you've put behind the wheel or the gamepad or whatever to actually win that particular race. So it's a different experience. It's a more kind of mature experience and one that's more related to real life racing than it is to a more arcade kind of video game.
À part l'approche du multi et le fait que le jeu ne soit consacré qu'à la marque Ferrari, ce Test Drive reste un jeu de course comme il en existe beaucoup. Dans cette configuration, on peut alors se demander ce qui le différencie vraiment de ses principaux concurrents.
We always try to do something new in racing games. We're very much of the belief that if you don't continue to innovate and either do something first or something best, then there's no point doing it, right? So in every game that we make, we always try to do something like that nobody's ever seen before, or sort of try to do something better than anyone has ever seen before. And it's the same in Ferrari, basically. When we approached Ferrari, the game, we looked at our previous titles, we looked at the kind of other games that are out there, and it's all about getting into first position to earn some cash, you save it up and then go and spend on a new car, and then go into the next race and try to get to first place and get cash, and it's just a continual cycle like that, and there's nothing to break up the monotony of it. When we looked at Ferrari though, those kind of arcade mechanics didn't suit Ferrari. Ferrari is a premium brand, it's aspirational, it's, you know, all that kind of stuff. And having those kind of arcadey mechanics in there didn't feel right. So when we knew that we were doing like 60 years of Ferrari, the whole Ferrari history, it made sense to do it more from a story perspective. So when you're going into the gameplay of Ferrari in Ferrari Racing Legends, every event is different. You may be in the 39th lap of a 40-lap race and your tyre is blown out and you have to somehow limp to the finish line or something like that, or you're running out of fuel so you need to pit in, do a really fast pit and then get back out again and win the race, or you need to ensure that you get into second place because the third place driver is going to win the Constructors' Championship if he gets higher than you. Little things like that, so every single event you go into is different. So, and that relieves the monotony instantly and also recreates these epic, iconic scenarios from Ferrari's past that have really happened, you know? So, you know, as I said, we have innovations like that and different ways of treating every game that we make, you know, bespoke for that particular type of game is how you keep the racing genre fresh, and how, you know, other games that maybe don't do that and just continue to add thousands of cars and thousands of tracks to their games, they end up being like big encyclopedias of games, big encyclopedias of cars and tracks, but the gameplay itself is exactly the same as the previous version or the previous version of all that, you know. So we always try to do something different to kind of differentiate ourselves and also make each product unique.
On espère maintenant que Slighty Mat Studio tiendra toutes ses promesses concernant ce Test Drive Ferrari Racing Legends, qui, on le rappelle, sortira en juin sur PC, PS3 et Xbox 360.